Why is this girl sleeping like a stray dog on my floor? Get security. Now.
Simone Harper opened her eyes.
Mr. Caldwell, I've been here since midnight.
This is completely unacceptable. I
don't
want
care.
results.
Preston
not
Caldwell
excuses.
didn't even
Do
look
your
at her.
jobs or-
He looked at his VP.
Willie work. This is what happens when you hire quoters instead of quality. A charity case napping on my dime.
Sir, the platform would have crashed. Just look at my screen.
Get up. Grab your bag. Go back to whatever you came from.
We're done here. 40 engineers watched. Nobody said a word. Security walked Simone Harper to the elevator with her mother's photo in her hands. On the screen he refused to look at, a deployment log, time-stamped 9:02 a.m. This woman had just stopped a $200 million crash, and the man who fired her will find out when it's already too late. Unbelievable. But before you judge what happened, you need to know who this woman really is. But before we get to what happens next, you need to understand who Simone Harper really is. And you need to understand the man who just threw her away. Pinnacle Capital Systems sits on Park Avenue, Manhattan. Glass tower, marble lobby. The kind of building where the front desk costs more than most people's houses. For 12 years, Pinnacle built its reputation on one product, the Apex engine. An algorithmic trading platform that processes over 15,000 automated trades per minute for some of the biggest hedge funds on Wall Street. When the Apex engine works, nobody notices. When it fails, it makes headlines. And Pinnacle's biggest client, Sterling Ridge Capital, runs $200 million through that engine every single day. 18 months ago, the board hired a new CEO to make the company IPO ready. His name was Preston Caldwell. Former Goldman Sachs managing director, Harvard MBA, bespoke suits, cufflinks that cost more than a month of Simone's rent. Preston came from the money side, not the tech side. He had never written a line of code. He had never visited the server room. He once called the engineering floor the back office. But he knew how to fire people. He'd done it twice in 6 months. Both times publicly, both times on the trading floor, both times people who didn't fit the image he wanted Pinnacle to project. Because to Preston, discipline wasn't about results. It was about appearances. If it looked wrong, it was wrong. And that belief, that shallow, dangerous belief, is exactly what brought him to Simone Harper's desk that Thursday morning. Now, Simone, south side of Chicago, single mother, raised her working double shifts as a hospital janitor. Simone didn't grow up around money. She grew up around sacrifice. She earned a full scholarship to MIT, graduated top of her class in computer science. Her thesis on fault-tolerant distributed systems has been cited over 140 times in academic papers. Before Pinnacle, she spent 2 years building intrusion detection systems for the Department of Defense. She holds 2 patents in real-time data stream processing. But here's the thing about Simone. She never talked about any of it. She showed up early, stayed late, ate lunch at her desk, and let her code speak for itself. She was the one who rebuilt the Apex engine's core matching algorithm 9 months ago. A project no other engineer wanted to touch. Her rewrite improved execution speed by 34%. The quarterly report credited the engineering team. Simone's name appeared nowhere. Her desk sat in a back corner of the engineering floor. No window. Not by choice. She was never moved after the last office reorganization. Nobody thought to. She wore simple clothes, kept her natural hair, no jewelry. To the C-suite, she was invisible. To the servers that processed billions of dollars every week, she was the only person who truly understood how they worked. She had been recommended for promotion twice by the CTO, Nolan Briggs. Both times, Preston blocked it. His written feedback, and this will matter later, read, "Not leadership material. Doesn't project confidence in client-facing contexts." Not leadership material. Remember those words. 6 weeks before that Thursday morning, Simone discovered something buried deep in the Apex engine. A race condition in the order-matching algorithm. Under normal trading volume, it was harmless, dormant, invisible. But under heavy volume, the kind of volume that happens the day before options expiration Friday, it would wake up. And when it did, the engine would start misreading sell orders as buy orders. For every client, simultaneously. She wrote a 14-page report. She sent 3 emails. The first to her direct manager. The second to Nolan, the CTO. The third, after weeks of silence, directly to Preston Caldwell's office. His assistant filed it. Preston never read it. Not one word. And so, 6 weeks later, on a Wednesday night at 11:14 p.m., when Simone's phone buzzed with an automated alert, latency spike in the order matching module, she already knew what it meant. She already knew nobody else would catch it. And she already knew that if she didn't drive back to that office and fix it herself before the market opened at 9:30 Thursday morning, Sterling Ridge Capital would lose $200 million. Pinnacle would face lawsuits, SEC investigations, bankruptcy. So she grabbed her jacket, drove to Park Avenue, walked into an empty building, sat down at her corner desk with no window, and she went to work. What happened over the next 10 hours is something no one in that building will ever forget. Wednesday night, 11:48 p.m. Simone badges into the Pinnacle building. The lobby is empty. The security guard at the front desk barely looks up. She takes the elevator to the 31st floor. The lights are on automatic, dim, half-powered. The hum of servers bleeds through the walls from the floor below. She sits down at her corner desk, opens her terminal, runs a full diagnostic on the Apex engine's order matching module, and what she finds makes her stomach drop. The race condition is no longer dormant. The latency spike that triggered her alert, it wasn't random. The bug is waking up. Under Thursday's projected trading volume, 3 times normal because of options expiration Friday, the algorithm will misinterpret sell orders as buy orders. Not for one client, for every client running through the platform simultaneously. She pulls up Sterling Ridge Capital's queued positions. $200 million in leveraged trades set to auto-execute the moment the market opens at 9:30 a.m. If the engine misfires, Sterling Ridge buys 200 million of the wrong positions while failing to exit their existing ones. By the time anyone notices, the damage is done. Lawsuits, SEC investigations, Pinnacle's collapse. Simone has exactly 9 hours and 42 minutes before the opening bell. She pulls up the source code, 40,000 lines. The race condition is buried deep, tangled into legacy architecture that only she fully understands, because she's the one who rewrote half of it 9 months ago. Nobody else wanted to touch it then. Nobody else can touch it now. She starts working. Midnight passes, then 1 a.m. She isolates the race condition, traces it through 3 layers of nested processes. The fix isn't a patch, it's a rewrite of the entire concurrency handler. One wrong variable, and the engine doesn't just fail, it fails silently. No error message, no red flag, just wrong trades, wrong prices, wrong everything, and nobody knows until the money is gone. At 1:30 a.m., she begins writing the new code. Line by line, testing each function against the production environment. Her fingers move across the keyboard in a rhythm that hasn't stopped for hours. 2 a.m. The cleaning crew comes through, vacuums around her. She doesn't notice. 3:17 a.m. She picks up her phone, almost calls Nolan, the CTO. Her thumb hovers over his name, but she puts the phone down. She knows the fix. Waking him means committees, meetings, approvals. The market doesn't wait for meetings, and the last time she escalated something to leadership, nobody read her email. 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. The office is still dark, still empty. Just Simone and the glow of 3 monitors. Her back aches. Her eyes burn. Coffee cup number 3 is cold. She opens number 4. 7 a.m. She finishes the rewrite. Now comes the part that separates a good engineer from a great one. Testing. She runs back tests against 3 years of historical trading data. Every trade the Apex engine has ever processed, replayed through her new code. She simulates Thursday's projected volume, the massive 3 times normal crush that will hit at 9:30 a.m. If one test fails, she goes back in. 7:30. First round passes. She runs it again with different parameters. Passes. Again. Passes. She runs a stress test at 4 times projected volume, a scenario that should never happen. It holds. 8:45 a.m. Every test is clean. She begins the live deployment. Her hands are steady. Her vision is blurring. The deployment process takes 16 minutes. She watches every line execute. 9:02 a.m. Deployment successful. The commit message she types? Critical. Race condition in Apex order matching module. Cascading cell order failure at high volume. Fix deployed. S. Harper. 9:02 a.m. She leans back in her chair. 10 hours. 40,000 lines of code. A $200 million catastrophe stopped with 28 minutes to spare. Her body has been running on caffeine and adrenaline since midnight. The crash hits all at once. Her arms feel heavy. Her eyes close. She puts her head down on her forearm, just for a moment. She's asleep in under 30 seconds. Her monitor keeps glowing. The deployment log sits there, waiting for someone to read it. 13 minutes later, Preston Caldwell steps off the elevator for his morning visibility walk. You already know what he saw. You already heard what he said. But here's what you didn't see. While Preston was calling her a charity case, while security was walking her out, while 40 engineers sat frozen at their desks, Tessa Williams, a 26-year-old junior engineer sitting 3 desks away, couldn't move. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. Tessa is black. Tessa was Simone's mentee. Tessa knew Simone had been in the building since midnight because the access log pinged on the shared dashboard. But she was 26, 6 months into the job, and the CEO of the company was standing 10 feet away talking about quotas and charity cases. So she did what everyone else did. She sat there. She said nothing. And she watched the best engineer in the building disappear behind elevator doors. The floor went quiet. Preston straightened his tie, looked around the room and said, "That's how you maintain standards." Then he walked to his corner office, closed the door, and never thought about Simone Harper again. At 9:30 a.m., the opening bell rang. The Apex engine processed its first batch of Thursday orders. 15,000 trades per minute, 3 times normal volume, 0 errors, 0 latency. Flawless. Nobody noticed. Because that's what's supposed to happen. The system is supposed to work. But 40 engineers on that floor, every single one of them, knew something was wrong. Not with the system, with what just happened. And one of them, Tessa Williams, was already staring at Simone's desk, at the screen that was still glowing, at the commit message that nobody had read. Man, that is brutal. 10 hours, alone, saving everything. And they dragged her out like she was nothing. I need you to imagine that for a second. That's you at that desk. You just saved $200 million, and nobody even looked at your screen. What would you do? 9:30 a.m. The opening bell. The Apex engine fires. 15,000 trades per minute slam through the system. Volume is 3 times normal. Exactly what Simone predicted. Exactly what should have killed it. The system doesn't flinch. Every order matches. Every execution clears. 0 latency, 0 errors. Sterling Ridge Capital's $200 million flows through clean. The platform runs better than it has in months. Nobody on the trading floor celebrates, because nobody knows how close they just came. But on the engineering floor, Tessa Williams hasn't moved from her desk. She's been staring at Simone's workstation since the elevator doors closed. The monitor is still on. The screen hasn't locked. Simone's session is still active. The deployment log is right there. That commit message, time-stamped 9:02 a.m. Tessa read it once, then read it again, then a third time, slower. Critical. Race condition in Apex order matching module. Cascading cell order failure at high volume. Fix deployed. S. Harper, 9:02 a.m. Tessa pulls up the system access log. It shows Simone badging into the building at 11:51 p.m. Wednesday. It shows continuous terminal activity from 11:58 p.m. through 9:02 a.m. 9 hours and 4 minutes of unbroken work. It shows no other engineer logging in during that window. Just Simone. Alone. The entire night. Then Tessa does what she should have done an hour ago. She picks up the phone and calls Nolan Briggs, the CTO. "You need to come down here, right now." Nolan arrives 4 minutes later. He sees Simone's empty chair, her coffee cups still on the desk. The photo of her mother? Gone. He sits down at her terminal and starts reading. The deployment log, the timestamps, the commit message. He opens the code diff, a side-by-side comparison of what the Apex engine looked like before Simone touched it and what it looks like now. The rewrite is massive. The concurrency handler, completely rebuilt, every function annotated, every edge case accounted for. This isn't a quick patch. This is surgical. This is the kind of work that takes a team of 5 engineers a week to do. Simone did it alone in 9 hours. Nolan opens the backup server. He pulls the pre-patch version of the Apex engine, the version that was running before Simone deployed her fix. He loads Thursday's actual trading data into a simulation and runs it through the old code. The simulation lasts 40 seconds. Then the screen turns red. Cascading order mismatches. Sell orders flipping to buy orders. Stop losses overridden. The simulated loss counter starts climbing. 50 million, 90 million, 120 million, 160, 198 million, 214 million. Nolan stops the simulation. His hands are shaking. He sits there for a long moment. Then He pulls up the email archive. He searches Simone's name. 3 emails. The first, sent 6 weeks ago to her direct manager. Subject line: Apex order matching module. Potential race condition under high volume. Flagged as informational. No response. The second, sent 4 weeks ago, escalated to Nolan himself. He remembers seeing it. He remembers thinking he'd schedule a review next sprint. He never did. The third, sent 2 weeks ago, directly to Preston Caldwell's office. Marked as read by Preston's executive assistant. No reply. No action. No acknowledgement. 3 warnings, 6 weeks. And the only person who listened was the person who wrote them. Nolan closes the email, leans back in Simone's chair, the corner desk, no window, the one nobody thought to move. He looks around the engineering floor. 40 people at their desks, pretending to work, still shaken from what they witnessed an hour ago. He picks up the phone and calls Preston Caldwell's office. We need to talk. Now. 11:30 a.m. Nolan walks into Preston's corner office. Preston is on a call. Something about the IPO roadshow, timelines, investor decks. Nolan stands by the door and waits. When Preston hangs up, he doesn't sit down. He lays it out. All of it. The deployment log, the timestamps, the simulation, the red screen, the $214 million in simulated losses. He keeps his voice flat, controlled, no emotion, just facts. Preston listens, then leans back in his chair. So, the system is fine, right? It's running? No issues? It's running because of her, Nolan says. The woman you fired 2 hours ago. Without her patch, we'd be in the middle of a meltdown right now. Sterling Ridge alone, 200 million, gone. Preston waves his hand. But it didn't happen. The system held. Crisis averted. So, what exactly is the problem? The problem is you fired the person who averted it. And the patch she deployed needs monitoring adjustments she planned to make after resting. Adjustments she can't make now because she doesn't work here anymore. Preston shifts in his chair, straightens a cufflink, then gets someone else to handle it. You have 40 engineers out there. None of them can read her code. She rebuilt the concurrency handler from scratch. She's the only one who knows how it works. For the first time, something flickers across Preston's face. Not guilt, not concern, calculation. He's running numbers, not engineering numbers, but optics numbers. How this looks, what it means for the IPO, whether it leaks. Keep this quiet, he says. The board doesn't need to hear about a near miss during IPO prep. Handle the technical side. Find someone who can figure out her code. And Preston Caldwell never fired anyone. She resigned. Are we clear? Nolan doesn't move. There's one more thing. He places his phone on Preston's desk. On the screen, Simone's third email. Sent to Preston's office 2 weeks ago. Subject line, urgent. Apex order matching vulnerability. Potential exposure exceeds $200 million. Marked as read by Preston's executive assistant. No response. She told you, Nolan says. She told you 2 weeks ago. Your office opened it. Nobody replied. The room goes cold. Preston stares at the phone, then pushes it back across the desk. My assistant handles my emails. I get 300 a day. I can't read every. This one had the word urgent and 200 million in the subject line. Silence. Handle it, Nolan. That's what I pay you for. Nolan picks up his phone, looks at Preston for a long moment, then walks out. 1:15 p.m. Garrett Owens, the VP who smirked when Simone got fired, bursts into Preston's office. His face is pale. Sterling Ridge Capital is on the line. Victoria Ashworth, managing director. She doesn't want to talk to sales. She doesn't want to talk to account management. She wants to talk to whoever is responsible for the Apex engine's performance during this morning's volume spike. Her systems team had been monitoring the platform all morning. They noticed something unusual. The Apex engine handled 3 times normal volume with 0 latency. Better than any previous stress event in 2 years. Whatever changed overnight, it worked. Victoria is impressed. She's considering increasing Sterling Ridge's allocation through Pinnacle by another $150 million. She has one question. Who's your infrastructure lead? I'd like to speak with them directly. Garrett freezes. He looks at Preston. Preston says Simone's name before he can stop himself. Victoria writes it down. Have her call me this afternoon. The call ends. Garrett and Preston stare at each other. The woman they fired 4 hours ago is now being personally requested by their biggest client. 2 p.m. The engineering floor is buzzing. Not with work, with anger. News travels fast in a company that runs on Slack. Someone shared the simulation results. Someone else pulled the security footage from the lobby. Simone entering the building at 11:51 p.m. Never leaving. Working alone through the night. Then security escorting her out at 9:20 a.m. 2 senior engineers submit a formal complaint to HR. The engineering Slack channel, usually dead by lunch, has over 200 messages. People are quoting the timestamps, sharing screenshots of the deployment log, comparing the commit message time to the termination notice time. 9:02 a.m. Simone saves the company. 9:18 a.m. HR files her termination. Then someone posts from an anonymous account. One message. It cuts through everything. She worked 10 hours to save $200 million. Her reward was a security escort. That's Pinnacle Capital Systems. The message gets 84 reactions in 20 minutes. 3:30 p.m. Preston feels the ground shifting. He calls an emergency leadership meeting. His strategy? Reframe the narrative. He stands at the head of the conference table and lays out his argument. An engineer made an unauthorized production deployment without change management approval. That is a fireable offense, regardless of outcome. We have protocols. She violated them. I enforced them. End of story. A few heads nod. The argument has surface logic. If you squint hard enough and ignore everything else, it almost makes sense. Then Nolan speaks. She followed the emergency deployment protocol, Section 4.7 of our own engineering SOP. Sole engineer override is authorized when estimated financial impact exceeds $100 million and no quorum is reachable within the threat window. She was alone. It was midnight. The exposure was over 200 million. She followed the procedure exactly. The room shifts. She didn't violate anything, Preston. She's the only one who followed the rules, including the ones you never bothered to read. Preston opens his mouth, closes it. The meeting ends without resolution. But it doesn't matter. Because by 4 p.m., 2 things have happened that Preston Caldwell cannot control. First, Victoria Ashworth, the woman who manages $200 million through his platform, is asking to speak with an employee who no longer exists. And second, someone on the engineering floor has forwarded the entire story to Raymond Foster, chairman of the board. Raymond Foster is 64 years old. He has spent 30 years on Wall Street. He has seen this pattern before. The person who does the work is invisible, and the person who takes credit is in the corner office. He picks up his phone, makes 2 calls, one to Nolan, one to Victoria Ashworth. Both tell him the same story. Both name the same person. Both say the same number. 200 million. Raymond hangs up the phone and schedules an emergency board meeting. Friday morning, 8 a.m. sharp. Preston Caldwell has no idea it's coming. Thursday evening, 6 p.m. While Preston Caldwell sits in his corner office rehearsing damage control talking points, Nolan Briggs is doing something Preston never thought to do. He's reading Simone Harper's personnel file. Not the summary, the full file. And what he finds changes everything. Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Full scholarship. Graduated summa cum laude, computer science. Her thesis, Fault-Tolerant Consensus Mechanisms in Distributed Trading Systems, has been cited 143 times in academic publications. She wrote it at 22. Professors at MIT still assign it to graduate students. Before Pinnacle, she spent 2 years at a cybersecurity firm contracted by the Department of Defense. Her job? Building intrusion detection systems for military networks. The kind of work that requires a federal security clearance. The kind of work where a single mistake doesn't cost money, it costs lives. She holds 2 patents, both in real-time data stream processing, both filed before she turned 27. At Pinnacle, her record is spotless. 3 years, 0 incidents, 0 complaints. She's the engineer who rebuilt the Apex engine's core matching algorithm 9 months ago, the rewrite that improved execution speed by 34%. The quarterly report called it a team effort. Her name wasn't mentioned once. Nolan keeps reading. He pulls up her performance reviews. Every direct supervisor gave her the highest rating available. Every single one wrote some version of the same sentence. Exceptional technical ability, critical asset to infrastructure stability. Then he finds the promotion records. 2 recommendations, both from Nolan himself. Both rejected by Preston Caldwell. Both with the same written feedback. Not leadership material. Doesn't project confidence in client-facing contexts. Nolan reads that line out loud. Alone in the conference room. And the words taste different now. Because what that line really says, what it has always said, is that Simone Harper didn't look the part. Not that she couldn't do the job. Not that she lacked skill. She didn't fit the picture in Preston Caldwell's head of what a leader is supposed to look like. He closes the file, sits there for a moment, then forwards the entire personnel record, the MIT thesis, the DoD clearance, the patents, the Apex rewrite, the promotion rejections, to Raymond Foster, chairman of the board. Meanwhile, in a glass office 30 floors above Midtown, Victoria Ashworth is not a woman who waits. When Garrett Owens failed to connect her with Pinnacle's infrastructure lead, she made her own calls. A contact on Pinnacle's engineering team, one of the 2 who filed the HR complaint, told her everything. The bug, the all-night fix, the firing, the cover-up. Victoria's response is ice cold. She calls Preston directly, not his assistant, his direct line. She tells him that Sterling Ridge Capital is conducting an immediate review of their Pinnacle contract. Not because the system failed, but because the person who saved it was terminated, and the person who ignored the warnings is still in charge. Then she asks one question. Mr. Caldwell, do you even know what the Apex engine does? Preston stumbles through something about processing trades and managing volume. Victoria cuts him off. The woman you fired this morning knows more about your own platform than you do. I'd think about that tonight. She hangs up. Within the same hour, Raymond Foster receives 3 things. Nolan's email with Simone's full personnel file, a call from Victoria Ashworth confirming the $200 million exposure, and a copy of the anonymous Slack message that is now circulating beyond Pinnacle's walls, forwarded to him by a board member who received it from a friend in the industry. She worked 10 hours to save $200 million. Her reward was a security escort. Raymond has seen this before. In 30 years on Wall Street, the pattern never changes. The person who does the work is invisible. The person who takes the credit is in the corner office. And when it all falls apart, the corner office points at everyone but the mirror. He sends one email to the full board. Subject line, emergency session, Friday 8 a.m., mandatory attendance. Preston sees the email at 9 p.m. He doesn't sleep that night. Neither did Simone, but for a very different reason. Friday morning, 8 a.m. The Pinnacle Capital Systems boardroom, top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Park Avenue. 10 board members seated around a mahogany table, coffee untouched. Nobody is making small talk. Preston Caldwell sits at the head of the table. He arrived at 7:15, the earliest he has ever been in this building. His suit is perfect. His cufflinks are polished. He has a 12-slide presentation loaded on his laptop. Talking points memorized. Strategy locked. He spent all night preparing for this moment. His argument is simple. An employee violated change management protocols by deploying unauthorized code to a production system. He terminated her. He enforced standards. That's what leaders do. Raymond Foster, chairman of the board, sits at the opposite end. He lets Preston go first. That's intentional. Preston stands, clicks through his slides. His voice is steady, practiced. On Thursday morning, I discovered that a junior engineer had deployed unauthorized code to our production trading platform overnight. No change request, no peer review, no approval chain. This is a clear violation of our deployment policy. I terminated her employment on the spot. I stand by that decision. He pauses for effect, looks around the room. A few board members glance at their folders. Nobody interrupts. Pinnacle is preparing for an IPO, Preston continues. We cannot have rogue engineers pushing code to production systems that handle billions of dollars. This is about discipline. This is about standards. This is about protecting our clients and our investors. He sits down, adjusts his cufflink, confident. Raymond nods slowly. Thank you, Preston. Then he turns to his left. Nolan, go ahead. Nolan Briggs stands. He doesn't have slides. He has a laptop connected to the boardroom's 85-inch display. He opens it. Before I show you what actually happened, Nolan says, I want to be clear about one thing. The engineer Preston is referring to is not junior. Her name is Simone Harper, Senior Infrastructure Engineer, MIT, summa cum laude, 2 patents in data stream processing, former Department of Defense contractor with federal security clearance. She is the engineer who rebuilt the Apex engine's core algorithm 9 months ago, the rewrite that improved our execution speed by 34%. He pauses. She was recommended for promotion twice, both times rejected by Mr. Caldwell. His written reason? Not leadership material. The room shifts. Now let me show you what she did Wednesday night. Nolan pulls up the simulation. He explains it simply. This is Thursday's actual trading data, run through the version of the Apex engine that existed before Simone's fix. The version that would have been live if she hadn't driven to the office at midnight and worked alone for 10 hours. He hits play. The screen fills with data. Green lines, normal trade execution. For about 8 seconds, everything looks fine. Then the clock hits 9:30 a.m. Market open. Volume triples. The green lines turn red, one by one at first, then in clusters, then all at once. Cascading order mismatches. Sell orders flipping to buy orders. Stop losses overridden by phantom executions. The simulated loss counter appears in the bottom right corner of the screen. It starts climbing. 12 million. 38 million. 71 million. 106 million. Nobody in the room is breathing. 140 million. 178 million. 198 million. 214 million. Nolan stops the simulation. The red screen hangs there. $214 million. Frozen on an 85-inch display in front of 10 board members and the CEO who fired the woman who prevented it. The room is silent for 6 seconds. Then a board member in the second row whispers, "Jesus." Nolan doesn't pause. He pulls up the next screen, the deployment log, the timestamps. Simone Harper badged into the building at 11:51 p.m. Wednesday. She began diagnostics at 11:58. She isolated the race condition by 1:30 a.m. She rewrote the entire concurrency handler between 1:30 and 7 a.m. She ran back tests against 3 years of historical data. She stress tested at 4 times projected volume. Every test passed. She deployed the fix at 9:02 a.m. She fell asleep at her desk at approximately 9:04. He lets that sit. Then, Mr. Caldwell terminated her at 9:18, 16 minutes later. Next screen. 3 emails, dates, subject lines, recipients. The first sent to her direct manager 6 weeks ago. No response. The second sent to Nolan himself 4 weeks ago. He admits it openly. "I saw this email. I planned to schedule a review. I didn't. That's on me." The third sent to Preston Caldwell's office 2 weeks ago. Subject line: urgent. Apex order matching vulnerability. Potential exposure exceeds $200 million. Opened by Preston's executive assistant. No reply. "She warned us," Nolan says, 3 times, over 6 weeks. Nobody listened. Next screen. Simone's personnel file. The MIT thesis. The DoD work. The patents. The Apex rewrite. The 2 blocked promotions. Preston's written feedback displayed on the 85-inch screen for every board member to read. Not leadership material. Doesn't project confidence in client-facing contexts. Nolan closes his laptop. "That's what I have. But there's someone else who would like to speak." The screen changes. A video call connects. Victoria Ashworth appears, managing director of Sterling Ridge Capital, the client whose $200 million was on the line Thursday morning. Victoria doesn't waste time. She never does. "I'll be brief. Sterling Ridge had $200 million in leveraged positions queued for auto execution Thursday at market open. Your platform handled it flawlessly. My systems team confirmed. That performance was a direct result of a patch deployed at 9:02 a.m. by one of your engineers." She pauses, looks directly into the camera. "I've been in this business for 30 years. I've watched firms blow up because of arrogance. I've seen people lose everything because the person in charge was too proud to listen. But I have never, not once, seen a company fire the person who saved it. Your liability isn't the engineer who fell asleep. It's the CEO who couldn't be bothered to read an email. She lets the silence sit for 3 full seconds. Then, Sterling Ridge is pausing all new allocations through Pinnacle pending a leadership review. I'll await your decision. The screen goes dark. Raymond Foster turns to Preston. Would you like to respond? Preston's mouth is dry. He reaches for the only argument he has left. Regardless of outcome, the deployment was unauthorized. Our change management policy clearly states Section 4.7, Raymond says. He doesn't raise his voice. He reads from a printed copy of Pinnacle's own engineering SOP. Emergency Sole Engineer Deployment Override is authorized when estimated financial exposure exceeds $100 million and no engineering quorum is reachable within the active threat window. He looks up. She was alone. It was midnight. The exposure was over 200 million. She followed your own policy. The one you, apparently, never read. Raymond sets the document down. Did you read her email, Preston? My assistant handles. Did you read it? No. Did you read the engineering SOP before terminating an engineer for following it? Silence. Did you investigate anything before firing her in front of 40 people? Silence. Did you look at her screen? Silence. Raymond turns to the board. I move for an immediate vote on the removal of Preston Caldwell as CEO, effective today. Grounds? Gross negligence, failure of fiduciary duty, and conduct unbecoming of executive leadership. The vote is unanimous. 10-0. Preston Caldwell is removed as CEO of Pinnacle Capital Systems. Garrett Owens is placed on administrative leave pending an HR review. An independent audit of leadership culture is ordered. Raymond makes one final motion. I move that Simone Harper be contacted today with a formal apology from this board, full back pay, and an offer not to return to her previous position, but to a newly created role, Vice President of Platform Integrity, reporting directly to this board. Unanimous. Preston stands. His slides are still loaded on his laptop. His 12-point argument. His talking points about discipline and standards and unauthorized deployments. Nobody looked at them. Nobody will ever look at them. He picks up his things, walks out of the boardroom, takes the elevator alone. The same elevator Simone Harper rode 24 hours earlier, with her mother's photo in her hands. Friday afternoon, 3:40 p.m. Simone Harper is sitting at her kitchen table in a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. Her laptop is open, 3 job applications half finished, a cup of tea she hasn't touched. Her mother's photo, the one from her desk, is propped against the wall next to the window. Her phone rings. Unknown number. Manhattan area code. She almost doesn't answer, but she does. Ms. Harper, this is Raymond Foster, chairman of the board at Pinnacle Capital Systems. Not HR. Not legal. Not a lawyer with a settlement offer. The chairman of the board. Calling her himself. He tells her everything. The simulation, the red screen, the $214 million in projected losses, the 3 emails, her 3 emails, displayed in front of the full board, the promotion rejections, Preston's written feedback read out loud in a room full of people who now understand exactly what those words meant. Victoria Ashworth's testimony. The unanimous vote. Preston Caldwell is gone. Removed as CEO. Effective immediately. Then Raymond says something Simone isn't expecting. The board has created a new position, Vice President of Platform Integrity. It reports directly to us, not to a manager, not to a CTO, to the board. We'd like to offer it to you. Simone is quiet for a long time. Mr. Foster, I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because it was my job. And because people's money, people's retirement funds, their savings was on the line. I know, Raymond says. That's exactly why we need you back. Simone doesn't answer right away. She asks for the weekend. Raymond agrees without hesitation. Saturday morning, Simone video calls her mother in Chicago. Her mom is between shifts at the hospital, still working doubles, still wearing scrubs, still the strongest woman Simone has ever known. Simone tells her everything. The all-night fix, the firing, the board meeting, the offer. Her mother listens, doesn't interrupt. When Simone finishes, there's a pause. Then her mother says, "Baby, you don't owe them anything. But if you go back as you, not as who they want you to be." Monday morning, 8 a.m. Simone Harper walks into the Pinnacle Capital Systems lobby. Not through the side entrance, through the front door. Badge reactivated, head up. Her mother's photo in her bag. Tessa Williams is waiting by the elevator. She doesn't say anything. She just hands Simone a coffee and walks with her to the 31st floor. Simone's new office has a window. The news breaks Tuesday morning. Financial press picks it up first. A short piece in the Wall Street Journal. Pinnacle Capital Systems CEO removed in emergency board action. The article mentions leadership failures and IPO delays. It doesn't mention Simone. Not yet. By Wednesday, the full story leaks. Someone, nobody knows who, though the engineering Slack channel goes quiet the same day, sends the entire timeline to a Bloomberg reporter. The deployment log, the timestamps, the 3 ignored emails, the firing, the security escort, the simulation showing 214 million in losses. All of it. Bloomberg runs the piece Thursday. The headline, the $200 million nap. It goes everywhere. Financial Twitter picks it up within an hour. LinkedIn by lunch. Reddit by dinner. The story is simple enough for anyone to understand. A black woman worked 10 hours through the night to save her company from catastrophe, fell asleep for 12 minutes, and was fired by a CEO who never bothered to ask why. Preston Caldwell's name is in every paragraph. His Goldman Sachs background, his Harvard MBA, his visibility walks, his exact words, charity case, quoted by 3 separate sources who were on the floor that morning. His career on Wall Street is finished. No firm will hire him. Not because he fired someone, because he fired the person who saved him, and then tried to cover it up. Garrett Owens resigns before his HR review concludes. Quietly. No statement. He takes a compliance job at a small firm in Connecticut. Nobody writes about it. Nobody notices. Simone doesn't do interviews. She doesn't post on social media. She doesn't make a statement. She goes to work. That's what she's always done. But the work is different now. As Vice President of Platform Integrity, Simone builds a new team from scratch. Her first hire, Tessa Williams, promoted from junior engineer to systems engineer. Her second hire, a senior architect she recruited from MIT's research lab. Within 6 weeks, the team has 8 people. Within 3 months, they've redesigned Pinnacle's entire vulnerability response pipeline. Simone institutes one policy on her first day. Every critical vulnerability report receives a response within 24 hours. Escalation to the board, within 48. No more emails disappearing into assistants' inboxes. No more 14-page reports filed and forgotten. If someone raises an alarm, someone answers. Sterling Ridge Capital doesn't leave. Victoria Ashworth increases her allocation through Pinnacle by $300 million. She tells the Wall Street Journal, Pinnacle's platform is the best in the business, and the reason is one engineer who wouldn't go home when everyone else did. MIT invites Simone to deliver the commencement address for the computer science department. She accepts. She doesn't talk about Pinnacle. She doesn't talk about Preston. She talks about her mother, the hospital janitor who worked double shifts so her daughter could sit in a lecture hall at MIT. She talks about the people who build things no one sees, the ones who fix what's broken at 2 a.m. while the rest of the world sleeps. The Pinnacle engineering floor gets renovated, not for optics, because Simone redesigned the space for collaborative work. Open debugging stations, shared monitoring dashboards. No more corner desks with no windows. The anonymous Slack message from that Thursday afternoon. She worked 10 hours to save $200 million. Her reward was a security escort. That's Pinnacle Capital Systems. Somebody prints it on a metal plaque. It hangs in the new engineering commons, right next to the coffee machine. Nobody takes it down. When Pinnacle finally goes public 8 months later, the S-1 filing includes a section called Engineering First Culture. Simone helped write it. Her name is on page 1. Here's what this story is really about. It's not about a trading platform. It's not about $200 million. It's about who we choose to see and who we choose to ignore. Every company has a Simone Harper. Someone who shows up early and stays late. Someone who answers the alert at midnight when nobody else will. Someone who writes the code, files the report, sends the email, and never gets a response. They don't have corner offices. They don't have cufflinks or Harvard MBAs or 12-slide presentations. They have terminal screens and cold coffee and the kind of quiet discipline that holds everything together while the people above them take credit. Preston Caldwell looked at Simone Harper and saw a woman sleeping at her desk. That's all he saw, because that's all he was willing to see. He didn't ask a single question. He didn't look at her screen. He didn't check the logs. He didn't read her emails. He made a judgment in 6 seconds that erased 10 hours of work. Work that saved his company, his clients, and his career. And the cost of that 6-second judgment was everything. The most expensive thing in any organization isn't a system failure. It's arrogance. The kind that doesn't ask questions. The kind that assumes the loudest voice in the room is the most valuable one. The kind that writes not leadership material about a woman who holds 2 patents and a DoD security clearance, because she doesn't look the way a leader is supposed to look. Simone didn't fight back with anger. She didn't yell. She didn't beg. She picked up her mother's photo and walked out. And then the truth did what the truth always does. It came out. Not because someone forced it, but because real work leaves evidence. Timestamps don't lie. Deployment logs don't lie. And 40 engineers who watched a good woman get dragged out of a building, they don't stay quiet forever. How many Simone Harpers are out there right now, working the overnight shift, catching the bug nobody else sees, saving the system, and getting nothing but a corner desk and a cold cup of coffee? If you know someone like that, share this video with them. If you've been that person, drop a comment. Tell me your story. And if this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because stories like this one, They need to be heard. It's crazy, man. A black woman with 2 patents and a DoD clearance. And they wrote, not leadership material. Because of what? How she looked? Picture yourself in her shoes. You save everything. Nobody even glances at your screen. That's the world we're living in. Share this. Change it.